So out of all these quads and planes and quads and quads and quads, all these guys, all these quads, the ones that I'm using the most these days are the Dysons. And so I thought I would take this opportunity to talk about these two particular builds just a little bit. I don't normally do these kinds of videos, but I've been getting an awful lot of questions about these and perhaps some of the logic behind the BECs that I'm running. And I'll just walk through the various builds and kind of how I'm using each of these at the moment, and I'll kind of venture into this micro long range project here. So I've had a Squirt V1 and a Squirt V2 now in terms of trying to capture more cinematic cinewhoop style video, and recently got turned on to the Dyson V3 here. This was the first of the two builds that I put together using a stock Beta FPV 85X. It is a very straightforward conversion in terms of printing out one of these stripped Hero 6 or GoPro canopies, and you use the existing VTX back here. Motors, LEDs if you want to keep them. I decided to keep mine and just have them running straight into the 5-volt out. And I decided to go with a run cam. This is a Nano version 2, I believe, and the reason for that is because you need the back of the camera to sit flush against the mount here. The Nano, I want to say it's a Foxeer, the latest Foxeer Nano, the Razor, I think. It has a plug out the rear, and it does not give you enough clearance for this particular mount. So make sure you get the run cam. Nano 2, it's working out really good. I can see very well, as maybe you can tell in one of my videos. I was flying very tightly through snow-covered woods, and I was able to see just fine with this camera. I've actually been very pleased with it. This is the V2 85X, so it comes with the 5000 kV 1105 motors, and I'm running the, I think these are Gemfan Hurricane props, 2-inch Hurricane props. These have been very good, very smooth, very quiet. I've been quite pleased with these props as opposed to these stock props that come on the quad. And I intentionally ran a 5-volt BEC directly from the power leads into the flight controller all in one board to a Maytech 5-volt BEC. It's a really nice kind of micro-sized BEC. I just used double-sided tape with hot glue here to seat that on the mount. And then I have a BT 2.0 connector away from the BEC itself, which will plug directly into the Hero 6, which is stripped down. I did the full 17-gram strip. It's somewhat of a delicate strip, I would say. The ribbon cable can get broken very easily. My record button actually does not work on it. So I have to use the voice commands or the app to initiate the recording, which is actually no problem at all. But if it were anything worse than that, I would have to order a new ribbon cable. This thing flies very well out of the box. I believe it has Betaflight 3.5.7 on it. I tightened up the PIDs just a little bit on the I gain and P gain. And then I just run my typical kind of cinewhoop rates, which is really just dumbed down rates entirely with an increase of expo. This thing is flying really good. Highly recommended. The battery packs that I'm running on this are the 3S 650 milliamp packs from Talon. Really any 3S pack will work. I find the 3S to give you much better throttle modulation than a 4S pack, even though it is compatible with a 4S LiPo. So I'm running the packs that I get the best performance out of are the high voltage 3S 650 packs. But these are working really good as well, and getting plenty of flight time to feel like I have a few minutes, 3 to 4 minutes to get around my scene and to take the shots. Most recently, I put together this guy, and this has actually been a little bit of a conversion away from an R3D. The canopy looks something like this. This happens to be the HD whoop version, and it would be your traditional 40 millimeter prop whoop size frame, so about a 75X style frame. And this stuff is interestingly printed out of carbon fiber filament. It does have a bit of flex, but rigidity to it as well. So I would say that this is a much more solid frame than a 75X would be. I've got the JEP RC 1102 9000 kV motors on this, and then I just quickly put together these little supports here, one in the front to hold the front two ducts together where the original camera would have been, and then in the rear I put together this little zip tie mount, also holding these ducts together. More protectors rather than ducts, but you get the idea here. So I have two slots there. If this were a longer antenna, I would strap another zip tie here and have this going upward. And on this particular build, it's a JEP RC 13 amp all-in-one whoop board. We've got the Rush FPV tiny tank on here with the same Maytech Beck to a BT2 connector out to the stripped GoPro 6 Hero Black. And I've also got the GemFan 4-blade, or sorry, not GemFan, these are TBS props. These are the 4 blades. I've had wonderful results on the 3 blades as well, just for a high-powered 2S whoop. So these are the 4 blades, which seem to give me pretty good performance as well. I haven't tried enough props on this guy to know what is going to offer me the best performance, but this is really working out well. The run cam, once again, the Nano 2 here as the FPV camera. Aside from that, it's pretty much a typical whoop build, aside from the conversion. It also flies fairly well, not quite as good as this guy. I would say this is much more of an indoor-outdoor, slightly more versatile quad. And also is just a little bit heavier than this guy. With the Hero loaded up on this frame, or this particular build, the all-up weight of that combination is still less, I think right around 6 grams less than what this is without the Hero 6. And so this, I would say, is especially handy for tighter gaps or indoor flying where you're perhaps closer to soft targets, or you need something to be even more discreet than this guy. They're both fairly quiet, but this is probably even a little bit quieter than this guy with the 1105 motors. The one thing I don't care for on this particular frame, the R3D frame, is it comes with these TPU battery straps here and the little strap holders. They tend to break off between the printed layers, and so I probably need to order a few more of these. They don't offer these designs available online for downloading and printing, unfortunately, so I suppose I could design something and just rock that, or figure out a way to loop some rubber bands in through here. But two very, I'd say slightly different builds for different purposes, all to capture that nice buttery cinematic footage to be used with RealSteady Go. I've been a user of RealSteady, the original standalone plugin for After Effects, for quite a while. This new RealSteady Go, it's stupid easy to use. You literally plug in your files from the Hero 6. You set a few gyro markers and you pump out those smoothed out files so quickly. So I'm not a fan of the HD FPV systems at the moment. Your typical RunCam splits or your Caddx turtles. I've tried them all. Even the Foxeer mix is not really up to snuff in terms of what I like to see in terms of cinematic footage. So this is just a completely new step forward in my opinion in terms of capturing that buttery smooth footage. I really don't even care to have my Squirt V2 anymore. So if you're interested, I would sell that. Aside from the two Dyson builds, I'll try to make sure this isn't going to last too long here, but I know you guys were kind of interested in this latest project of mine. This is the Micro Long Range Frame by Dave C. You can look him up and see everything there is to know about this frame. Unfortunately, that frame, the V1 frame, has a 16mm stack limitation, and so there was a revised version of the frame that was cut here in a 20mm stack. This is the, let me see here, it's a Mamba, diatone Mamba stack I've got in here. Fairly cheap to run, seems to work just fine. It's a 20 amp stack. I've also got the Rush FPV 20mm VTX back here. Runs all the way up to 800 milliwatts, which is more than enough power for the distance you would carry with something like this. Typical nano-sized, or sorry, this would be a micro-sized camera out front. Maytech GPS in the rear. This is a SAM M8N, I think, M8 something. It's really nice and small. It's kind of elongated, and it seems to really work well on a build like this. One thing I forgot to mention about all these builds is they have crossfire. So the Nano RX is just the way to go. It's a small RX that really gives you the distance and the reliability of, pushing the distance if you really wanted to. I've been flying long range also for quite a while, so it just makes a lot of sense to have crossfire on these rigs. That's what this guy is right here on the back of that VTX. Now these motors, I've been doing some testing on with a rig like this. My attempt was to have the stripped Hero 6 mounted to this12 being as small and as lightweight as possible, really trying to hit that 250 gram mark. And so I decided to go with 1207 5000 kV motors on 3S. Roughly an 850 milliamp pack is going to give you that weight right around 250 grams all up, with the Hero buzzer on top and really everything that you see here. The problem that I'm finding out is the 1207 motors are extremely efficient. I'm getting something like 9 to 10, probably even 11 minutes worth of flight time. But it does not have the stator width to really have the oomph for overcoming wind. And so if you are flying in even the slightest breeze, these motors do not quite have the power necessary to spin these 4-inch HQ props. I would highly recommend moving up to a 1404 or a 1505. I have another, actually, a couple of these frames sitting here, so at least one more of these frames will be built up with a slightly more power-based setup, powertrain that's going to be able to throw it around a little bit more. Now, I will not be able to hit the 250 gram mark with motors like this because the weight is just a little bit, it's going to take you past that mark. But there's something to be said about these 1207 motors. They're extremely efficient. You're probably going to have to run a 3-inch prop on a rig like this with these stator sizes. But if you really increase that stator size just by a little bit, going up to a 1404, 1505, you're going to be in really good shape to have a nice kind of micro long range rig. The furthest I've ever taken a 3-inch was 5.2 miles round trip. So cut that in half, taking it out. That was an Airblade Intrepid, I want to say, on 1304 motors, 4000 kV. That would have been a 4S 850 milliamp rig. That was about a year ago, a little bit more than that, a year and a half ago. So this is kind of up that alley in terms of what the goals are. The camera mount I'm still kind of working on. This is a 29-degree angle, so really trying to hit that kind of optimal, efficient angle with still hitting the majority of the shot on your ground plane. VAS Minion antenna here, so a really nice kind of long dipole. This is the original Crossfire antenna, and that just works so well to do it this way on a micro long range. You can just bend it back. You just mount it to a zip tie with shrink wrap a couple times over it, and that really holds it in place. And the other point to be made about this particular micro long range build is there's no props in view. So you're going to get that really nice GoPro footage without seeing any kind of props in view. It's much less sharpened than what you would get from a typical FPV HD system. I'm not really talking about the DJI system. I'm talking about those other kind of all-in-one FPV microcam systems. I really don't care for those, so this is something I'm going to continue playing with into the summer, into the springtime. Very discreet, very quiet. You can still take it out some range. The furthest I took this one so far is about a mile, but it should easily do 1.5 miles, probably close to 2 miles with this particular setup. And I have not experimented with lithium-ion packs. I have a few cells sitting here, so I'll be building up a few packs, 2-cell and 3-cell packs. Now that's also going to take you over the 250 gram limit, I think. The 2S packs will probably be okay. The 3S is definitely going to put you over. But some serious flight times will be able to be achieved with those. So this, yeah, I'm going to sign off here. This is going quite a bit long in terms of video. The one last thing I forgot to add is the battery packs I've been running on this guy is the 2-cell 520 packs from GMB. These are the high voltage packs. These are just running so good. I'm getting probably close to 4 minutes worth of flight time on these indoors. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, just stay tuned on the Dyson Facebook page. I also have a YouTube channel and Instagram channel that you're more than welcome to follow. Thanks.